Hello guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Paul from Flutter. Today in this video I'm going to talk about setting up our users account after they might have authenticated with their numbers, and here is an overview of it. So I'm going to input a number to authenticate me, and here is the number. I'm going to click on to verify, and down here it says verifying, and it will take me out of the app, and I'll wait for some seconds to be verified if I'm not a robot, and I'll be taken out of here because I'm not a robot. And I'm going to wait for 30 seconds for an SMS code, and here it is. I've copied it and I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to click on the next, and I have been verified. So let's see. Let's go to our Firestore and check, and it has created our UID and also our phone number, and we have this check that says is verified, which is false. That means we have not set up our accounts and created ads. And also we also have our authentication here and our users. So we have these users here, which is the number and the UID. So here we are going to work on today. So I'm going to add my first name, which is Paul, and the last name Idemekong, and I'll use test@gmail.com, and I'm going to click on go, and we are in. So say successfully logged in. So the next thing is, what if the user, maybe something happened while he authenticated with his phone number and everything was done, and he was trying to set up his account. So at first we pushed out what we pushed out was is verified to false. So at that point the user didn't actually set up his account, it was false. So when it was done, we now reset it back to true, so which will help that this particular user has set up his account. So what if we change it to false? So let's see, because the user has not entered the email, last name, and that's it. So let's click on how to reload, and let's see. So we're going to see where, okay, cool. You see, it's going to tell us to set up our account, and I'm going to input Paul. I'm going to add a dem, and I'm going to add test2@gmail.com, and I'm going to click OK, and this is it. So which has reset it also to true, and everything has been updated. So that's what we'll be doing today, and I'm excited you're here in this video. And if you're here, give this video a thumbs up, and also subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. And I hope to bring another video, and that is when we are going to start implementing our maps. So stay tuned and let's ride on. Let's move ahead to the code, and we are going to create our user model on our model folder here. You can ignore the errors, and in our user model we're going to create a new class called model. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and it's called user. And why we are doing this is for us to model this class into our user objects, for to deserialize this to our user object. So we are going to create a variable. First name is verified, last name, phone, rule, user ID, and created at. So we are going to create that, then we fetch it from the internet and store it there, so we can always use it within our app. So that's what we are going to do. And I've created a model here with the keyword class user, and I'm going to give in the string UID, and here is it, UID. And I'm going to give in the string first name, all of them with a null check, and I'm going to give in last name also with email, created at, and is verified. So I have done that now, so it's time to deserialize it. So we are going to do user get from JSON, and this is it. This is a constructor, and I'm going to give in the UID in here that we can pass in, and also a map, which is going to be our key value pair, which is the value and the field and the value, and here is going to be our key and value. So I've given it here data, and I'm going to set this UID, the UID that we're going to pass in here to the one here. So that's what this means. This means this is pointing at the one here, not the one here. So I'm going to check if data contains is verified, which is this. If the data contains is verified, and the key, which is the field, if it contains that field, I'm going to set the is verified to the is verified up here, and I'm going to do same for first name, do same for last name, do same for email, and also I'm going to do same for created at. So I'm going to do same for created at, and date time from milliseconds, and I do all the stuff here. So I'm going to save that, and we'll move over to our repository class here, and here it is. So what does the repository class does? It fetch data from the internet, and also it can also send data to the internet, and that internet is our database. So that's what the repository class is doing in this our context. And the data it will be pushing in our user repository, it's setting up our account and also fetching this particular user through the user ID. So I'm going to start doing that, and we are going to do some few imports here. I'm going to import the model here from here, and I'm going to import Firebase Firestore, Cloud Firestore, and I'm going to import Firebase auth as auth, and I'm going to import material, and I'm going to give this class, and I'm going to call it user repository, and calling it that. So I'm going to make this class a singleton class so that it will be initialized once. And here it is, a private constructor and also a static constructor, which is a private one, and this is private variable, static variable, which is a private one. And also we have a static getter that gets the user repository, and we give it instance, and we return the instance here, which is the user repository, as a static variable. And we check if it is null, we should assign it to the private constructor, and today using the private constructor to assign it to our instance here. So we are done with setting up it as a singleton class, and the next thing we are going to do is using our value notifier. So what does the value notifier does? It updates whatever it is being added to it. So if our user here maybe was updated due to our action, it will get updates. So it's just as the name it is value notifier. Whatever value that is changed, it will notify you. And the next thing we are going to do a get here current user, and we are going to return the value notifier and the value which is a user. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to set up account. I'm going to close this so you actually see the screen very well. So we are going to set up the account, and we are going to pass in some few parameters here, and the first is the UID, user ID, and which is this, and the second is email. The third is first name, the fourth is last name, and we are going to do Firestore instance collection pointing to this collection, and the document which is the UID. We are going to add the whatever UID here into here and update it. So we are going to update the email, and this function is for update. It updates whatever value that is there. It doesn't just set it. And the next one is first, last, rule. We are going to set the rule to 1. So we are actually using a string of 1 and 0 to set a rule. So if the rule is 1, it's a driver. If it is 0, it's a user. So maybe we might also have a dashboard that if it is 3, it should be the general admin. So the next is verified. We're going to set it to true, and this we are going to set this, and we are going to create this class in no time that says get user, and here we are going to assign it when we have gotten the user, everything that is here. We're going to assign it to our user here. So I'm going to return that. So it's because it's actually returning a user, to return that user. And I'm going to do get user here, and I'm going to pass in a string of UID, user ID, and I'm going to set the notifier value to null, and I'm going to do this to get our user, and is a document snapshot which is pointing at this particular document and in the users collection, and we are getting whatever value that is there, whatever values that are there with the field and everything. So I'm going to check if this snapshot exists, which is we are checking if this document actually exists with the ID, and if it doesn't exist, we are going to return null. But if it exists, we are going to map this. We are going to set this as a map string dynamic, and we are going to call it data, and I'm going to print the email so we can see on the screen, and also we are going to deserialize this using the user.from JSON. So we are going to pass in, which is this, which I explained earlier, and we are going to pass in the UID, which is coming up from here, and the data, which is a string dynamic, so which is here already. So that is it, and I'm going to return the value, which is user. So the next we are going to do is sign in current user. So how do we sign in a current user? It's maybe when our app fires, it should sign in that current user. So here is how it is done. So we are going to check if the current user is null, and we are going to check using the auth user, which is coming from Firebase, and get our current user, which is here, and we are going to check if this is null. If it is null, we are going to print no user, no current user, and we're going to do try catch, and we're going to do auth user auth changes first, because this is a list, and we're going to do user, this user, it's null, no state change user, else we're going to get the user, and that is it. So I have explained the user repository class. So let's go down to our blog before our UI. So let's go there. We are here in our blog. So let's explain this before we get to our UI, and I'm going to open up the auth event, which is what gets fired when a user makes any action on the UI. So maybe touch the button, scroll up, just those actions, those are events. So we are going to add this event. We're going to add sign up user, sign up event. So this event actually signs up a user. It takes the user ID, UID, and it takes the first name, the last name, and email. So that's what we are going to take from the user as an event, and as an event and it input. And also we are going to add this class 2, and this class is log in current user event. So when this is called, it logs in a current user. So if you've logged in previously on that particular device and you come in again, so here is a class that logs you in. So that is it for the event class, and I'm going over to the state. So whenever we have an event, we should have a state that comes after it. So the next is the state, and the state that I've created here, and I think I have created everything. I don't know if I have added anything here. So we actually have, after the setup, the sign up event, I think the next we have is the logged in state. So the logged in is when a user is logged in, it gets the UID, the first name, the last name, and the email. So we can actually use that if we want, or we can go over to the user repository and grab our data and display it on our UI. So that's what we got here in our screen. So let's go over to our UI. We are going to, before going over to our UI, we are going to check out the auth block, and which is where all the logics come in, and that's it. So the first we are going to check is the first that happens to our app is the phone verification event to state. So it's get the phone number and try to verify it. The second is code verified. So it's when you provide your SMS code and it gets it verified with the SMS code, and the phone gets, then we call on the get user. And if the user exists, we are going to store the user here and add it to our logged in state, which we are passing in here. So the next of it is the code sense, and I've explained this on our previous tutorial, and the one we are actually very interested in today, and also it's the sign up and the sign in current user, which you just call this line if this event is being triggered. So this line of code is to be called and everything will be done. So let's check in our setup accounts. So in our setup accounts, we're going to load a loading auth state, and also we are going to call on our user repository instance, and we are going to set up an account with the sign up event we have here, which is what we have here, and we're going to pass everything in which we'll get from the user inputs or from the user events, so you may call it. Then we're going to yield logged in state. So this state is when the user has been logged in, and the next we are going to explain is actually here. So here is when you want to verify your phone number with an SMS. So you call on the verify. I have explained here earlier. So this is the code I just added. I added these two codes here. So these two lines of code, and this gets the user, because here actually creates a user, and it creates the user with the UI the phone created at and is verified. So it creates a user in our collection. So the first field that gets added to this is the UI, the the created at the phone, and that's it. The UID is verified, and that's it. So the next is it gets the user. We are going to get, because this returns a string, which the string is a UID, and it gets the UID and try to get that particular user going in this collection with the UID there. And if this is being completed, because we are actually waiting for it, it will yield the logged in state. So that's it. So let's move into our UI. I'm going to talk about on our UI. It's the first place I'm going to talk about on our UI is when our UI is being launched. So it's first run the my app, and in here I have override our init state that get called on when this class is actually called this stateful widget, and there I'm going to give in the block, and I'm going to add the logged in current user. So when this event is called, that's when the reaction here begins. So it do this logic. So that's the beauty of using the block pattern and here. So let's move into our UI. So the UI I'm going to show you is, I'm going to give you a brief explanation to it because I'm actually running out of time. So the main thing I have explained it, you can clone the code and work on it as you want it. And so setting up our account, we are going to have some text field here, which is actually 3, with the first name, last name, and email. So we have some controllers here that stores those value, so we can trigger a block event. So I'm going to pass it up so we can actually use it from the auth page. So in doing that, I'm using a container that is white, so you can see it right here, and I'm giving a padding all that is 16, and I'm using a colon so I can actually have a lot of children and a children widget in this particular page. And the next is I have a text that says setup account, which is up here, and the next one is fill the details below. So this is it. and I'm using our extension padding button. In our previous lessons, you can check them out. I have explained that, and I'm using the row and expanded widget to actually do this, and I'm using the city text field. I've explained that, so you can actually go and check them out if you want. And I actually have the email, so the email, I have it here. So all of it I have passed in the respective controllers and among them. So let's move into our auth page. Let's see what happens. So I've added more controllers, which we are going to use, and the ones I've added is the email, last name, first name, and last name. So it's almost the same thing, and if the state is logged in state, it should take the user to the next page, which is this page, so it can actually get verified. And we update the index. I don't know why this code is not working, but I feel it's somehow working. But let it be there, so it actually updates it. And the next, I'm going to set in, because we are using the page view. All this is a page view. All this is a page view, but we have disabled the screw using the never screw label screw physics, and I've called in the setup page and passed in the constructors, which we have the first name, construct and controllers and everything. And we are going to build the float action button, which I've talked about, which is this button. And I'm going to check if the button is, the page index is 2, and if it is 2, which is this index, and I'm going to do the block provider alt block, and I'm referring to the context, and I'm going to add the sign up event. So if we should go in the sign up event, this is what it takes, and trigger our logic in here, which is the one here, and trigger the sign up function. And we're going to pass in the controllers and referring to it text, and I'm going to check if the state is logged in state. I'm going to get the user, and if not, I'm going to get the user ID. If not, I'm going to get the user ID from the top that is passed in. So I'm done explaining here. And also, this is actually what gets updates. It updates our page index when it is actually scrolled. So the next page I'll be talking about is our home page, and I'm going in there. So in our home page, I have some few logics here, and I'm using the scaffold, and I'm also using the value listenable builder that actually works very well with the value notifier, and I'm using that to check if our user exists or not. So I'm going to check if it is null or it is not null. So I'm checking if it is not null, it should return a builder, and this builder, okay, if it is, should do this. So if it is actually not null, it should do this, but if it is null, it should return the auth page. So it should actually bring up this particular page, should bring out this particular page, and there you go. And in our, if it is null, if it is not null, sorry, so it's built the page. So, and we are going to check if our value is verified, it's true. So if this value it's true, we are going to return this. So we are going to return that we have been successfully logged in, and here is where all our map and other of our beautiful UIs is going to come in our future videos. But if it is not verified, it should go over to the auth page, and we should we have specified the page that it will go, which is 2, and also the UID we have gotten from the value here, from the value in our user repository. And there we are going to navigate to our auth page and the value, the page index, and also the UID. So when this page is called, we are going to do our page controller, and the initial page we set to the page here. So to avoid any null value, we actually set it to 0, and the index we update it to that the value that we get from the constructor, and that is it. So I hope you enjoyed this video very well, and if you watched to this point, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment me more tips to grow on, and also if you want this video on provider, please, I want you to thumbs up in the comment section of this video, and anything you want, check under the description of this video and you see whatever you want. Thank you. And also please check out the GitHub repository for this, and it's on my GitHub account, so the one with the polydemecon. You can actually follow me with the follow button, and you should go to the repository and the city tab, and you can see some of the fix we have done, and you can go here and clone it. So we are done with creating user model. I'm going to do that, so I'm going to do that later. So thank you for watching, and God bless you.